The fixtures for the brand new Premier League season have been released, and this is how it starts.
Yeah, the season begins on August the 15th with champions Liverpool taking on Bournemouth in Friday night football. Aston Villa take on Newcastle, with Brighton taking on Fulham. Nottingham Forest host Brentford, while Sunderland begin life back in the Premier League at home to West Ham.
Thomas Frank's first game as Tottenham head coach is against Burnley. Manchester City start at Wolves, and the first Super Sunday of the season sees Chelsea host Crystal Palace before Manchester United host Arsenal. That's a massive one. The final fixture we're talking about sees Leeds return to the Premier League. They're at home to Everton, and that is the first Monday night football. So those are the opening fixtures for the new season. Let's see how the champions start. Liverpool's first 6 matches of their title defence, Bournemouth at home, and then they go to Newcastle. A really tough one, that one. Then a huge one as they host Arsenal at Anfield. Then they go to Burnley before the Merseyside derby on September the 20th. Then they're away to Crystal Palace on September the 27th. That is a tough start when you think about that for Arne Slot's side. But what about Arsenal? They begin at Old Trafford on Super Sunday, like we just said. They then face Leeds at the Emirates before that game at Anfield. The 3 following matches see them face Nottingham Forest, Manchester City and Newcastle's arguably even tougher for them. Manchester City, they start at Wolves before a home game against Tottenham. Then it's Brighton before the Manchester derby at the Etihad on September the 13th. Then it's Arsenal away before a home game against newly promoted Burnley. The first full season for Manchester United under Ruben Amorim, and it's Arsenal at Old Trafford for the first Super Sunday of the season, followed by an away trip to Fulham before matches against Burnley, Manchester City, Chelsea and Brentford. Tottenham begin life under Thomas Frank at home to Burnley. Then it's that trip to Manchester City and games against Bournemouth, West Ham, Brighton and Wolves. Everton's first game in their new stadium. Exciting times for them. It's against Brighton on August the 23rd. That's after their opening game, which is against Leeds at Ellen Road on Monday Night Football. They also face Wolves, Aston Villa, Liverpool and West Ham, making up their first 6 games. And here are the games live on Sky for that opening weekend. The new season begins with the champions Liverpool at home to Bournemouth, Friday Night Football. And we've got all of last season's top 4 featuring across the weekend, with Manchester City at Wolves on Saturday night. Chelsea face FA Cup winners Crystal Palace on Super Sunday. That's followed by that huge clash at Old Trafford between Manchester United and Arsenal.
Well, it is a season like no other on Sky Sports, with a minimum of 215 Premier League games live, up from 128 last season.
Here a look at things, a few things to look out for when the season begins on the weekend of August the 16th. Sky Sports will have at least 215 live games for the next 4 seasons, giving fans the best matches week in, week out until May 2029.
Well, fans will be able to watch 80% of all televised Premier League games this season right here on Sky Sports.
As well as in the traditional Saturday and Sunday slots, the first and last word on a Premier League weekend will also come from Sky Sports, with more live games on Fridays and Mondays than ever before.
Well, for the first time, all final games on the last day of the season will be live in one place, which will create a real moment for fans. It'll be fairly epic.
Now, are there any changes to Super Sunday for the upcoming season? For the first time, Sky Sports will now be able to offer multiple live matches on a number of weekends, Sunday 2 p.m.
Every single Premier League fixture for the 2025-26 season is on the Sky Sports app. You can get there by scanning this QR code. It'll take you straight to the fixtures section. And there's also a live blog on the website as well, and the app, featuring interviews and analysis.
Let's get some live reaction now. We'll start at Sunderland, who are back in the Premier League for the first time in 8 years.
Yeah, let's head to the Stadium of Light and join our reporter Keith Downey. Keith, good to see you. So Sunderland start life back in the Premier League at home to West Ham. What will they, as a team and their fans, make of that start?
Yeah, I think it's a good start for Sunderland. I think for them to be here at the Stadium of Light for the opening match and you would say on paper a winnable game for Sunderland. They'll of course be boosted by their promotion back to the Premier League, and they will see West Ham at home as a match that they can get off to a good start. And I think also it's a bonus for them that it's a 3 o'clock Saturday afternoon. The atmosphere will be good. Look, I think maybe some people would look at it and say, oh, it'd be great to have a Manchester United or a Chelsea at home or something like that, Manchester City. But I think most Sunderland fans waking up this morning and seeing those fixtures will be more than happy with a home match against West Ham, because of course everyone wants to get off to a good start. But I think what's crucial for Sunderland isn't just the first game, it's the matches to come after that, guys, as well. Their second game on August the 23rd, of course, all these matches, of course, could be changed for TV, but preliminarily, August the 23rd, away to Burnley, a team, of course, they know well, having played against them in the Championship just last season. Then they're at home to Brentford here at the Stadium of Light in the third game. Then it starts to get a bit harder after that. Crystal Palace away, Aston Villa at home, and then Nottingham Forest away. But you look at those opening 6 fixtures, there's no Man City, there's no Liverpool, there's no Chelsea, there's no Spurs, no Manchester United, no derby game. So there's a real opportunity for Sunderland, I think, to get some points on the board early, and I think most Sunderland fans will be happy with those fixtures. Of course, the Sunderland fans, just like the Newcastle fans, will want to know all about the derby fixtures as well. And Sunderland host Newcastle here on December the 13th. Of course, that can again be changed for television, and then they travel just 12 miles or so along to Newcastle to play them on March the 21st. So that's the 2 derby matches, and then round about Christmas it looks busy as ever. Sunderland away to Brighton on December the 20th, and then followed by 2 huge matches here at the Stadium of Light. December the 27th, home to Leeds, who of course they've got a big rivalry with, and then home to Manchester City on December the 30th. So looking at it, it's a decent enough start for them, a chance to get some points on the board, and then the big fixtures start coming thick and fast. So lots of excitement here in Sunderland this morning as the club return back to the Premier League after an 8-year hiatus. It's West Ham at home on match day 1, Saturday, 3 o'clock kickoff, August the 16th, as Sunderland make that return back to Premier League football.
Booking my flight as we speak. Keith, thank you.
Now let's head to another promoted club and go live to Burnley, where Peter Stevenson is for us this morning. Peter, a trip to North London then. Spurs away in the first match of the new Premier League season. But how will Burnley fans view the sort of their first chunk of games?
I think most of them will be having a stiff drink either today or tonight, because the opening 6 games look really, really tough. As you say, away to Scott Parker's old team Spurs in the first game of the season. Sunderland, the first home game, so again, they will probably view that as a winnable game. But the next 4 matches, Manchester United away, Liverpool at home, Forest at home, Manchester City away. 4 big games for them, really difficult. They had a marvellous defensive record, of course, in the Championship last season, going up with 100 points. I'd suggest they're going to need all those defensive qualities in that opening 6 games, more especially when you think that they've lost CJ Egan-Riley, one of their central defenders, to Marseille. There's still a lot of talk about James Trafford's future. We have spoken to the club today about Trafford and also about Josh Brownhill. Trafford still contracted to Burnley, no word yet on his future, but everyone, I'm told, has his price. Josh Brownhill, Burnley still awaiting a response to contract offers. So again, in the next 60 days or so, a lot of comings and goings possibly at Burnley when those decisions get made. I'm told a couple of players lined up this week possibly to come in, but as I say, in terms of an opening start, I know everybody has to play everybody twice. That's the old saying, and maybe Burnley will take a little bit of comfort from possibly the big teams might be having players who are bedding in and might not have found their rhythm quite by mid-September, but it certainly looks a really stiff challenge. And I remember last time out in the Premier League, they reached 24 points all season. They didn't get their first win until October, and you imagine they're going to have to go pretty well here. Sorry I'm competing with the workmen and the lawnmowers, but that's a sign that the football season is going to nearly be here. But I think today, a real sense of harsh reality for Burnley fans. The Championship season last season was memorable. It's fair to say that they face a really brutal challenge if they're going to survive in the Premier League this time.
Peter, thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, so we've got Clinton Morrison here to have a look at these fixtures today. And just because we've just come off Burnley there, you did touch a little bit on Leeds and Sunderland as promoted clubs in the last hour. But Burnley, how tough is it going to be for them?
Very tough, especially with them fixtures that have come out. They're difficult. It's always hard to go to Tottenham, even though if it had been Tottenham last season, I think Burnley maybe have fancied their chances, but under Thomas Frank, I think it's going to be a different Tottenham this season, so it's going to be hard. But their run of games are tough. Sunderland at home, they need to win their home games. Man United away, Liverpool at home, Forest at home. Man, that's not easy. Those last three teams towards the end of September, they were all had an outstanding season last season. Apart from, well, Man City didn't have an outstanding season, but they're still going to be flying this season. So they're tough games, but they've got to win their home games, Tom. It's going to be difficult, and they need to bring more bodies through the building to help Scott Parker.
Yeah, it's an incredibly tough run of opening fixtures for Burnley, isn't it? I mean, Sunderland, perhaps things are a little kinder to them, maybe, when we look at their first six.
No, Sunderland...
Tom's not so...
No, Tom will be happy. He'll be happy. I'm going to make him happy. I think the first three games that you look at them, West Ham at home, you don't know what... West Ham weren't good last season. I think they will improve under Graham Potter with a few more signings for sure. But going to the Stadium of Light, there's not many teams are going to fancy going to the Stadium of Light. The fans are fantastic. I sat with them in the playoff final, and let me tell you, they're one of the best set of fans. Burnley away, they have to win that. And Brentford at home. Brentford don't have a new manager at the moment. Maybe Keith Andrews gets a job, but they're going to lose some of their top players. So it could be a hard season for Brentford. So, yeah, Sunderland have to go into those first 6 games full of confidence. Then it gets tricky, as Keith said, with Palace away, Villa at home, or Forest away. But if you win your home games, you have a great chance of surviving in the Premier League.
It's amazing how important it is for Sunderland to get points in the ball, because I'm just looking at December. Listen to this, right? Listen to this for Sunderland fans in December. Liverpool away, Manchester City away, Newcastle at home, Brighton away, and Leeds at home on the 27th, and then Manchester City at home on the 30th of December. And then it's actually the next game in the new year is Tottenham away. So I think it might be quite important that Sunderland gets some early points on the board.
You were sitting there a bit quiet and worrying. Don't worry about that. You take care of business early, mate, and you never know, in some of them games, you've got a derby there against Newcastle, so you never know, you might get a result.
I'll be taking the week off after that. I'll not be around at Christmas, I'd tell you that much.
Pete Graves will never speak again, will you? If we look at the opening weekend of fixtures then, so Liverpool get the Premier League started on the Friday night against Bournemouth. What stands out from you from this opening weekend of fixtures? Because there's a couple of good ones on Super Sunday, aren't there?
No, there's brilliant. Obviously, my old team, Palace, that's a big game against Chelsea. It's a London derby. But the one that stands out is Man United v Arsenal. You don't know. Arsenal need to, hit the ground running. A bit of a disappointing season last season. You thought that was their opportunity maybe to win the Premier League, but Liverpool were outstanding. And Man United has been a big struggle. And it's Ruben Amorim. It'll be at home at Old Trafford with hopefully a few new signings. So it's a massive game. And then the Leeds-Everton game's big as well. I think Leeds back in the Premier League is great. I think it's brilliant. I think they're a big football club. Ellen Road, they need to get the points at home. But Everton under David Moyes have been really good. I tip Everton as an outside chance of maybe finishing Europe next season. That's how much highly I rate David Moyes. And if they can bring the right players through the building, they've got a good chance.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, right.
Good endorsement there, Everton.
Not always right, though. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, this is the ball that will be used in the 2025-26 season, by the way. Now, after the break, we will be live back to Burnley, by the way, to speak to one of their players. Welcome back to Premier League fixtures, Jay. We've showed you the opening fixtures. Here are the final day matches, and in alphabetical order, the home sides. Here they are: Brighton against Manchester United, Burnley face Wolves, Crystal Palace host Arsenal, and Fulham take on Newcastle, and the champions Liverpool, they host Brentford. Manchester City, they're at home to Aston Villa. Nottingham Forest take on Bournemouth, while Sunderland end their season against Chelsea. Tottenham host Everton, and West Ham play Leeds.
Well, let's take a look at how Newcastle begin their season. They start at Aston Villa before a home game against Liverpool. After that, Eddie Howe side go to Leeds, and they've got a home game against Wolves. They're away to Bournemouth, and then home at Arsenal as well at the end of September. Chelsea, meanwhile, they start at home to Crystal Palace on Super Sunday before they go to West Ham, so keeping it in London to begin with. Enzo Maresca's side then host Fulham before heading to Brentford and Manchester United. Then it's a home game against Brighton, so not too far from home to start the season for them. Aston Villa host Newcastle on the first game of the season. They then go to Brentford before games against Crystal Palace, Everton, Sunderland and Fulham. Meanwhile, Nottingham Forest start against Brentford before games against Crystal Palace, West Ham, Arsenal, Burnley and Sunderland. So Brentford begin life after Thomas Frank at Forest. That's before matches against Aston Villa, Sunderland, Chelsea, Fulham and Manchester United. And every single Premier League fixture for the 2025-26 season is on the Sky Sports app. You can get the app by scanning this QR code. It'll take you straight to the fixtures section. And there's also a live blog for you there featuring interviews and analysis too.
Let's get more from Clinton Morrison now. And Clinton, we'll talk about the potential title race now. Who do you think will be in the mix? Who do you think it's going to be between to win the title?
I think Liverpool, obviously, Man City, I would say, would be there. Arsenal would be there or thereabouts. And you know, like you always throw a name, another... See, it's difficult with Chelsea. I think Chelsea still need to make a few signings. I do like Delap, but I still think they need to improve maybe defensively and get a top-quality goalkeeper. So you can never rule out someone like Chelsea. But I think those three teams... And Newcastle need to do business, but I don't think Newcastle, at the moment, I think they'll be challenging for the top four, but maybe not the title. Depending, if they go and sign 2 or 3 world-class players, then definitely Newcastle. But I think those three... I do think those three, Liverpool, Arsenal and Man City, for sure.
Well, on Liverpool, obviously looking to defend the title. If we look at their first 6 games, they've got Bournemouth at home, they're away to Newcastle, then they host Arsenal, away to Burnley, then at home in a derby match against Everton. I think that's 5 or 6. I've already lost track. But what do you make of their opening matches?
No, listen, they're tough. I was just saying to Tom off air, there's no easy games in the Premier League. If you look at all those fixtures, there's some tough fixtures. And, yeah, Liverpool are there at the moment where everyone wants to knock them off their peril because they're flying at the moment. They were the best team in the Premier League, thoroughly deserved to win it last season. So there'll be tough ones. There'll be more pressure on them, especially with them signing players and spending over 100 million if that deal goes through, which it looks like it will go through for Wirtz. But I think Arne Slot went in there and done a fantastic job. And I still probably think Liverpool are my title favourites. I know I said those three will be in it, but I still think it's Liverpool's to lose next season.
Well, we'll talk Arsenal and Manchester City in just a moment. We need to head back to Burnley now. They're back in the Premier League, of course. We rejoin our reporter, Peter Stevenson, because he's got a player with him.
Yes, very good morning. Welcome back to Burnley, where everybody's just starting to analyse and digest those fixtures, especially that tricky opening 6-game sequence. With me is Bashir Humphreys to talk a little bit about the upcoming season. What do you make of that opening?
Hi, Peter. You're right. Yeah, it's exciting, man. This is what we're here for. Why not start with the Europa League champions, away, big stadium, travel down to London? Yeah, it's what we're here for.
Last season was fantastic from a defensive point of view, and as a central defender, that must have given you great satisfaction. How big a step up is the challenge now to face those big boys in the Premier League?
Yeah, I mean, we're all fans of the Premier League. We all know what the challenge is. We all know it's a step up, and for us, that's an individual challenge and it's a group collective challenge, and we're ready for it, man. We're ready.
I've looked at your Premier League experience. Am I right in thinking it's the bench has featured?
Yeah. I had a few teasers there, man, but I didn't quite get on the pitch. So this season, I've got to make it happen. For sure.
So a Premier League debut this season will be wonderful. And what about those games against Chelsea? How special are they going to be? Because that was your first club, wasn't it?
Of course, it's going to be sweet, man, because I've obviously got no better taste in my mouth with Chelsea. I've got a lot of love for Chelsea, and it's actually going to be exciting for me to go back to Stamford Bridge and play them, whether or not that's for Chelsea or against them. It's going to be exciting.
And in terms of the Burnley team, the Burnley squad, how do you think the guys are going to be looking forward to this season? Because I think you're back in training in 2 weeks?
Yeah, we're almost back in. It's just going to be excitement, man. There's no nerves, there's no fear. I think we have to come in with an attitude that we're going to achieve what we want to achieve.
But you look at those opening games, you look at the two Manchester clubs, you look at Forest, you look at Liverpool. I mean, that's tough.
Yeah, but it's all tough. It's all tough. You can scan the whole other 19 teams in the Premier League and you can't pick out one game where you say, well, that's going to be a simple game. So we've just got the same attitude going into every game and we're going to try and win every single one.
Excited?
Always.
Sleeping well?
Always.
Well, look, you've got to enjoy it, haven't you? That's the main thing. You're there, you've earned the right to be there with that wonderful season last year. So have a good time.
I will.
Especially in those first 6 games. Thank you so much. Thank you. So there you go. Bashir Humphries looking forward like everybody else at Burnley. It's going to be tough, but they always knew that.
They're full of confidence, aren't they, over there? Peter, thank you very
like
much
him.
indeed. Yeah, come across brilliantly, didn't he? Right, let's talk Arsenal and their first 6, because they're going to want to be competitive from the off.
Yeah.
Manchester United away, opening weekend of the season, Super Sunday. That's a huge way to start the season.
Yeah, it's a big game. There will be pressure on Mikel Arteta. As I said, they need to do a bit of business, quite a bit of business to be fair, but that is a tough game. To go to Old Trafford against Ruben Amorim's team who weren't good last season, who have to be better this season, Man United. But yeah, there's some tough fixtures, but as Bashir Humphries just said there's no easy games in the Premier League. That's why it's the best league in the world, because we have the best teams in the world, we have the best managers, we have the best players in the world, so it's always going to be difficult. But the fixture list is not too bad, but look, Leeds will be tough as well, so there is, and then you've got Liverpool. Now, in actual fact, that is very tough.
Three away games.
Let me tell you, that is probably the hardest one that's come out. I would say that's the hardest one, because I didn't see Man City in there, Newcastle, Forest as well, who had a good season, Liverpool, and they'll probably expect to get something from Leeds, but Leeds will be a difficult game as well. So that's the hardest. I bet Mikel Arteta was thinking, thanks whoever drew that out, because that ain't helped me one bit.
It's just that, yeah, those first 3 away games couldn't be that much more difficult, really. That's Arsenal. The other team you mentioned in the title mix would be Manchester City.
Yep.
So let's have a look at theirs. We can see that they've got Arsenal away there. But they start away at Wolves, who ended the season really well. Tottenham at home, Brighton away, Manchester derby, always a big one. Then that Arsenal away game. Then Burnley at home. What do you think of that?
No, that's not too bad. They're tough games. As I said, it's the Premier League. There's going to be so many tough games. But if you look at it, I think Pep would be happy with that, because you look at the other teams that are going to be challenging, their run of games, they're really tough. But as I said, Tom, they're difficult, because you still look at it, there's like Man United in it, there's Arsenal, obviously Manchester derby, they got Brighton, and obviously Tottenham, who've got a new manager. You don't know what Tottenham are going to be like. So it's so difficult, because you don't know what players are going to come in. But if you look at it, Man City have to improve. And they'll be hurting from last season, hurting big time. Even Pep said if he won the FA Cup, it would have been a disappointing season. Oh, yeah, they didn't win that. My team won it, Crystal Palace. I'm just not winding anyone up. I'm just saying.
Well, you are.
You've been 26 minutes without mentioning it. So you know what? That's a surprise.
Well, you know what? I was going to get it in there. I'm only on till 10 o'clock, so I needed to mention that about Crystal Palace.
Almost made it half an hour.
Yeah, but no, I think Man City will bounce back next season. But them fixtures are not too bad to start with.
In terms of the fact that they're at the Club World Cup now, you mentioned earlier how great it is for a player like Rodri in getting fit and getting back up to speed. When you look at sort of the summer, I say it's only 2 months away, isn't it, until the start of the Premier League season again. Will their involvement in the Club World Cup maybe come home to roost a little bit later on in the summer, or will they just restructure their pre-season compared to how other clubs or then usually do it?
Yeah, I think they have to restructure their pre-season. I think it's going to be difficult. I think this does favour the likes of Arsenal and Liverpool, who are not there, who can rest, and their players can rest completely. This is going to be difficult. They're playing in America, where the heat's not so good. They're all around over in America, so it's going to be difficult for Man City. It'll be interesting, because Man City start today, I think. It'll be interesting to see what teams Pep puts out, and I think they will take it seriously. Obviously, there's a big prize at the end of it, but will he rotate his players and pick different 11s for each different game, and start it like a mini pre-season, and then go and have a holiday and then come back. But it's going to be difficult for Man City, but they have signed well, and I think that they haven't stopped either. I think they will sign more players again when the window opens again.